So coffee, of course, begins with the bean, and we're going to be using two different single origin beans today,
One is, yeah,
and one is a blend.
indeed.
So take us through, Henry, the beans that we're going to be using today, because I think it's important for people to know what are good beans and what are bad beans, and work out what they like.
Okay. The top hat is from Nicaragua. It's from an estate called La Bastilla, and it's a single origin, direct trade, so we buy directly from the farmer, no third party or fourth party or broker. It's literally straight to the farm, straight to the source. We've been dealing with these guys for over a year now, and it's our house blend. What you're going to get flavour-wise from that is quite floral, quite botanical. There's an espresso, quite acidic, and with milk, lots of caramel flavours coming through. The Bola is from Africa. It's a Kenyan AA, so that's the quality of the bean. And with this one, we're going to get blackcurrant flavours, kind of like Ribena in a cup.
Are those characteristic of the regions or the roast?
Characteristic of the region. So the Bola we have is quite unusual. It's from Kenya, and with the flavours we get from that, it's quite fruity. You've got that lovely blackcurrant coming through. And with the top hats, the Nicaraguan, you do get a lot of floral notes coming through from coffees from that. It's indicative of that region.
So we've got two different coffees here with two different roast profiles.
Yeah.
So can you tell us the difference between these two roast profiles that we've got here?
Sure. So here we have a sort of a new age kind of roast in that it's a lighter roast. It's indicative of a lot of the roasters in London, Australian, Kiwi roasters. The less we roast for, the more sugars are retained. And this one here is a classic Italian roast from southern Italy. And they're known for roasting longer, getting a bit more of a punchness to it, getting a lot more molasses coming through, black treacle.
So are these good for both espresso and brew?
No, not always. A single origin, like the two we have here, are perfect for brewing, but this one's been created as an espresso blend. It's roasted longer, and therefore if we tried that, say as a Chemex or AeroPress or other, we're going to get quite a bitter, nasty tasting coffee. Whereas this one, lighter roast, retains the sugars, we're going to get a lot more flavour coming through. Think of drinking tea black, basically. It's not as intense as the classic espresso, but with this one, a lot more of the flavour coming through.
So when we're looking for coffee to use in a brew, any sort of brew, we're kind of looking for that lighter roast, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
We want more fruit, more sugars.
Absolutely.
We want more of that flavour that's long on the palate as opposed to the punchy hit of a dark roast.
Correct. Single origins, or generally on the actual beans you're going to buy, there should be some kind of indication as to what they should be used for. Have they been roasted specifically for espresso, or are they a brew roast?
Absolutely. And I suppose with beans as well, people often get confused with, if it's darkly roast, people will say, oh, that's a lot stronger, that's going to be full of caffeine. Whereas a lighter roast, they're going to go, oh, that's not got as much caffeine in it. And that's completely wrong, isn't it?
It is. If we've got the same bean, but we're roasting slightly longer, the caffeine content's going to be the same. It's down to the makeup that dictates how strong that coffee is. Is it Robusta? Is it Arabica? Is it 100% Arabica? Because if that's the case, then we're only looking at about 1.5% caffeine. If it's Robusta, if it's a mix, if it was 100% Robusta, it's going to give you a headache. It's going to be really, really strong, and you're going to know about it. But majority of coffees out there on the high street will be a mix. So we'll have the Robusta to give the punch, and we'll have the Arabica for flavour.
So you've got to really decide what you like and what your palate likes. If you like a lot of bitterness, then you would go for a much darker roast with a lot more Robusta in it. But if you're looking for that fruity flavour that I love, that's nice and long on the palate, go for a nice medium roast. It's single origin Arabica. Can't really go wrong.
Absolutely. Now your taste buds are totally different to mine and anyone else who walks into the room right now. So it's always good to experiment, to try other things. if you're used to a darker roast, if you're used to espresso, drinking a brewed coffee is going to be completely different to you. This is really subtle, whereas this is really punchy. So it's worth experimenting, trying, going out there to suppliers, getting a new coffee you haven't tried before, and what are the flavour notes? Is there licorice? Is there stone fruit, tobacco, molasses, caramel? So yeah, experiment.
So the activities you could do in this section, go and buy some different coffee beans, experiment, work out what your palate likes. It might actually be worth just sitting down, writing down what your favourite foods are, and maybe there's a common denominator in there, and looking for that in the next bag of coffee that you buy.
Yeah, why not? Sounds good.